I already thought this news was out there and everyone already kind of assumed it was a thing, but apparently it's now official since Paul Tassi posted on Forbes about the numbers and budget for Marathon. According to Forbes Paul Tassi, Marathon likely cost Sony Bungie more than an estimated $250+ million to develop. This figure does not include costs for ongoing maintenance, and it is unclear if marketing is part of it either. Costs could easily spiral well past $500 million, and there is not enough player base to support it. Sony, Bungie need to bite the bullet and do something. This is unsustainable at an alarming rate. Screenshot from the article. I can confirm Marathon's budget is over $200 million, likely more than $250 million. That does not include ongoing costs for maintenance and new content now, which is another thing. When people are like, oh, how much does it cost to support a live service game on a daily basis? Is it with the server costs and all that? It's like, well, that's one part of it for the maintenance. But the new content, paying the developers to create the new content, new outfits, new areas, all that stuff, that's an additional cost on top of it. Grum says, well, Forbes just confirmed that Marathon cost $250 million to make. Well, he said likely more than $250 million. Throw in marketing and you are close to $450 million by AAA standards. Concord was also $200 million to make. So another $400. Sony isn't going to shut down Marathon because execs would look really stupid, losing nearly $1 billion to hero and extraction shooters twice in a row. But this is an unmitigated disaster. In what world do extraction shooters cost $200 million to make? All of Destiny 1 was $185 million in adjusted dollars. And that was a huge game. This is like embezzlement of funds. Like there's got to be some sort of money laundering system going on or like something we don't know about, because there is no world that exists that this game costs $200+ million to make. It is a very basic run-of-the-mill extraction shooter game. It really shouldn't take much more than $20-25 million. And that in itself would be giving it a lot of credit. Budgets in AAA are obviously out of whack. And it was during COVID that team sizes ballooned for no good reason except the money was flowing. They expected the returns and growth to keep going. It never did. COVID demand was a peak, not a trend, driven by lockdowns, bored people played games, and stimulus money. AAA studios must downsize and do so quickly. AA and indie games have shown you can deliver superior returns for 1/10 and 1/20th the cost. But more than that, it's time to listen to the chuds if AAA wants to survive. Yours, George, Marathon didn't just cover over $200 million to develop. The figure is scarier. Sony bought Bungie for $3.6 billion. Add marketing, add server maintenance. The real bill is closer to $4 billion. PlayStation's executives lost the bet, and now they want players to pay the tab. And also keep in mind, much of this was decided during the pandemic in the 2020, 2021 area when the game started development and the budgets were set for it. I would imagine the executives in charge there making those decisions already left Sony, and the struggle bus that has been left with the executives taking over are like, this is not our fault that people made these decisions knowing full well that they would not be able to figure out how to make ends meet after the game comes out. Pirate Nation says, Marathon is cooked. Paul Tassi, I can confirm Marathon's budget is over $200 million, likely over $250 million. About 2 weeks ago, analyst firm Alinea estimated that Marathon had sold around 1.2 million copies across all platforms. I confirmed with my Bungie sources that that was close to accurate. Marathon had previously hit number 2 on Steam revenue chart ahead of launch. Also, near accurate is the 478,000 daily active user count in its first weekend, though that dropped to 345,000 more recently. That data is 2 weeks old, however. As I previously reported, the majority of Marathon's player base is on Steam, as confirmed by my sources. Alinea reports it as 70%. Marathon did not chart inside of Steam's top 10 at launch, which on its own is insane, by the way. It released with an 88,000 concurrent peak on its largest platform. That is a drop from the 143,000 peak during the free server slam. The game is now $40. And I said this when I played it during the free server slam weekend, based off of my experience with the game, I had no interest in going back to it. And I know I wasn't alone with that. And if that's the case, why would someone play it on the free server slam weekend and then the following week pay $40 to jump back into it when they weren't even jumping back into it during the free server slam weekend? Since launch, just over a month ago, those peaks have dropped by 68%, where the game was most recently at a 27,670 peak at the time of this writing. Marathon is now the 106th most played game on Xbox. That is so bad. I do not have full PS5 data, though it did chart on its top 10 list at launch. Marathon is 78th in daily active users on Steam at the time of this writing, 82nd in the top sellers. And this is the full article from Forbes. So credit where it's due. Shout out to Paul Tassi for all the information. Unblock me, Paul. Homie Santos says, will AAA ever learn their lesson? Doubt it. Why admit defeat when they can blame gamers for their failure instead? And I almost feel like that's already starting. Marabots on social media trying to blame people like me for daring to post update. Bungie's Marathon is on pace for its worst day yet. This was quote tweeting my tweet yesterday. Bungie's Marathon is on pace for its worst day. I promise you guys, this is going to be my new thing where I just quote tweet this over and over again until it breaks the trend. And with that in mind, let's take a look. Did it break the trend? So this was earlier today. I have not looked at it yet. It is 9:16 p.m. Pacific time on a Thursday, April 9th, 23,000 concurrent players. It did eclipse yesterday. It got to 26.9. It eclipsed yesterday's 25.3. So about 1,500 more players, but it did not eclipse Monday nights. Since Monday night, it did not eclipse Monday nights. It eclipsed Tuesday nights. So, hey, maybe it's trying to find its level somewhere around 25 and 26, almost 27. I can't even say 27. Didn't even get there. So somewhere between 25 and 26,000 players on a concurrent player count basis on a daily basis. That is so bad. It's not even funny. Charlie Intel saying Bungie's Marathon title had a budget of over 200 million via Forbes, quote tweeted by Legendary Drops. Emboldened by the success of Arc Raiders and given PlayStation's history with marketing, the size of Marathon's campaign, the full costs are likely 400 million all in all, which I would agree with. I think it's probably, if I had to guess, over that, not under that. Most games, especially live service, are killed by shouldering the insane expectations of executive management. Yep. Wicked Wiz, free to play won't pull this back. And the reason why I want to bring this up is I talked about this previously too. The next course of action for Bungie is to announce that Marathon is going to be going free to play. They haven't said anything yet about it, but we all know that conversation is what's taking place right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if behind closed doors, they already have a date set that they plan on moving forward with for it to be free to play. Because the trajectory that this has been going on, they already know, pulling it back, that this is not sustainable. If this continues, it will go to zero by July at this rate. Noir says, so this essentially confirms the game flopped, right? As a live service game, there are ongoing costs for maintenance, and the player base is mediocre at best. Sony won't put up with this game leaking money forever. And I think if Concord never happened, there would already be layoffs. They would already be going free to play, and they would already be doing some sort of refunds and stuff like that, because this is really, it is on the level. Maybe not at the extreme of Concord because they bought Firewalk Studios, which was probably Monsters initially. But you need to consider that was at the time only 400 million, only 400 million compared to buying Bungie for $3.6 billion. So if you put the context with how much they paid for Bungie, yes, this is on that level. It is that bad. Atreus, like I told the idiots in my mentions a few days ago, the game is cooked and so is Bungie. Enjoy it while you can. Oh no, it's Alex. Oh, they're completely cooked. Like everyone is figuring it out. Not like this is the first time, but I almost feel like the entire gaming community, even the people that have been pushing Marathon, are finally coming to the stage of acceptance of, yep, This is done. This can't keep up. Tebow, yes, Marathon is ugly as shit to watch. Quote tweeting Invicta, stream Marathon to one of my closest friends that I used to trio trials with, and he stopped watching within 5 minutes and just said it was ugly and that they should have made Destiny 3 instead. Does the art style really filter people that badly? I did not like the art style at all. So, yeah. Yours, George. According to Paul Tassi, Marathon is a win because this is not a game that is about to face some sort of imminent shutdown. Sony spent $3.6 billion on Bungie, and now the bar is it didn't get shut down. That's a $3.6 billion consolation prize. And I would almost push back and say it is on the cusp of being shut down. But that's how you define what the cusp is. I don't think tomorrow it's going to be shut down, but I do feel like in between it being shut down and now there will be a free-to-play stage of it. And then once that doesn't work, it will inevitably be shut down. And I've said this multiple times before. It, in my humble opinion, will not last past July of 2026. Oh, High Nuts says, damn, once every 5 years, an online game comes out that's not crap and not a cash grab. And the internet morons just had to get pissed at it for no damn reason. Marathon is genuinely a fucking awesome game. Haven't been sucked into something like this in ages. Whether it's the lore, the graphics, the gameplay, everything's just perfect. I don't ask for much, but I want the game to outlast the brain-dead hater fuckwits. It won't. Spoiler alert. It doesn't matter how much people talk about it negatively. The reality is the player base is dwindling. No amount of conversations and debates outside of it are changing the reality that people are not sticking to the game. I want to play this for the next 5 years. It's a legit threat to my perfect relationship with my girl. Can't fucking tear myself away. Bro, I almost feel like it would be doing you a favor if that's the case. Yikes. Every moment when I'm not working or eating, I'm thinking about the mistakes I made in past matches and how to fix them. There's definitely a certain segment of people out there. Calico says, 6 weeks after the announcement of Marathon having a brand new Fog of War anti-cheat system to limit wall hacks, cheaters are now making hacking montages on YouTube. This user in the gameplay has been playing the game since launch and uploads them onto his YouTube channel, showing people how to cheat and hack with a hacking montage in the game and just showcasing it. Mark Badman says, what's worse is Bungie is scared to ban cheaters, as based on cheating subscription numbers, it could be 30% of the population. This is Ethan Gotch, the acting editor-in-chief of Kotaku. He said, I've never seen Steam trend lines so dire for a game I keep wanting to take lunch breaks to go play. It's quote tweeted by Minimal Effort Gaming. What do you expect? The majority of people propping up Marathon have pronouns and trans flags in their bio. The average gamer wants nothing to do with this trash human unicorn Roblox vomit. I think that's the absolute disconnect. Jay Viper, at this time last week, Marathon had about 5,000 more players than it does right now. Come on, Marathon fans. Jump in the game and give it a boost. Help your game out, fam. They're spending more time trying to fight back on social media and complain about its downfall instead of playing the game. Grums, common game journalists and wokey excuses. Extraction shooters are an expired genre. Arc Raiders smashes. Players are tired of hero shooters. Moral rivals smashes. It's the economy, internet attention. Every Asian, indie, and AA game. No. Laughs to bank. Very true. This is why I keep pushing back to when people are like, no, live service games are dead. No, they're not dead. You're just not addressing the market of what people want to play. And it's a very limited pool of people. And it is a shark-infested water that, as a developer, I would want nothing to do with. It is extreme feast or famine. I thought this was absolutely hysterical. Unrelated, but on the live service game conversation, Pirate Nation, even in death, Highguard has a higher active player count than 1348 X Voto. You can still load up Highguard right now. I still have it downloaded on my computer. And you can load into the game. It doesn't do anything. It's just stuck on a loading screen the second you click into loading it, but you can do it. 5 people are doing that, as opposed to 1348 X Voto that currently has 2 people in game. Highguard, you can't even play. That's just funny. We'll leave it at this. This is Marek Tominsky. This is the CEO of CI Games. He says, and the CI Games is behind Lords of the Fallen, and they're working on Lords of the Fallen 2 right now. He says, 3 main things that destroy game dev studios. 1, a simply not good enough idea. 2, lack of strong execution. 3, corrupted team culture. Number 3 is the main reason most of the time. That's been the biggest disease in gaming, and it stayed under the radar. Not us. Very based game studio for CI Games. And even though we haven't heard much of rumbles coming out of Bungie, they did have the whole cheating scandal. That dude, Joe, that was trying to act like it was someone who didn't work at the company anymore, stole all the artwork and just somehow swept it under the rug, and it's somehow slipped through, and they weren't able to catch it in time. He no longer works there. I could only imagine the mess behind the scenes. There were already stories coming up about how depressing it was to go into work there. I would imagine working at Bungie right now has got to be one of the most depressing jobs in the world. Going into work at a studio where you know your game is doomed. You know it's a ticking time bomb, and you are going to be out of a job. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but potentially. That's how soon it could come. And how are you supposed to have a peppy, positive, motivated attitude going to work when you know that's the cloud hanging over your head working at Bungie right now? Makes you wonder. But yeah, that's the current situation with Marathon. Allegedly, if these estimates are to be believed, it could be upwards of $500 million. And if that's the case, it would be an even larger failure than Concord, which is saying something. I'll leave that there. We got Imago Lewis, member for 8 months. There is no money laundering, no embezzlement, and nothing criminal, just incompetence. Why did Bungie make another live service game when Destiny 2 exists? You're probably right. But I wonder at some point when you talk about numbers that big, if it's something beyond it, because if we're going to the $500 million territory for making a live service game that's just a basic extraction shooter, I got questions. I think that's fair to have questions about it.